Europe just revealed their plan to steal your savings, but it's not just Europe. The entire world is connected. And on top of it all, the CBDCs, are they working or are they not? We're going to dive into all of this and more here. But first, let's start off with revealing Europe's plan to steal your savings. When I read this, I honestly could not believe it because I was like, okay, this sounds completely dystopian. But they said the quiet parts out loud. Europe, the EU, the ECB, the central bank literally said there is an urgent need to channel retail savings into capital markets to develop those markets and finance EU priorities. Now, they are literally saying that out loud, and I had to go and say, hey, okay, maybe this is just Twitter. No. They literally published this on their website saying that they need to do this to develop those capital markets and finance EU priorities. Now, what does this all mean? This essentially means that Europe, the ECB, Christine Lagarde, they're planning to use your savings for whatever the hell they want. And it's not just going to be all of these different policies where it's, hey, you know what? We're going to help finance roads. We're going to help finance schools. We're going to help finance things that will actually help the humans. No. They want to invest all of it and control all of your money. In fact, savings normally is at work, right? They rehypothecate. Banks take your savings and they loan it out to people across various industries, whether it's auto loans, whether it's something else, right? Home loans. But no, they want to take it and use it to whatever is potentially funding their own campaigns. So it's crazy. They're out here saying the quiet parts out loud and saying that they're going to use it to finance this war, right? If you could print money, why the hell would you need to use people's savings? But the European Commission is to use 10 trillion euros of citizens' savings for the European defense. They already plan to use $800 billion for defense investments under the Rearm Europe plan for readiness for 2030. So they're already planning this out for future use, and they are honestly putting out checks that they can't cash. So what are they doing? They're stealing from citizens to say, hey, we're going to fund wars. And the interesting part is Europe is generally a little bit more on the liberal side, more on the peaceful side than the United States, who has the biggest defense budget in the world. But Europe, curiously, is doing this and planning it out for 2030, which I think is extremely interesting. And it's now a security action for Europe, or the SAFE, a new EU financial instrument providing up to 150 billion in loans for joint procurement. So it's national flexibility. We're all in this together, right? Well, if you could print more money, well, why would you need to utilize people's savings for defense spending? I think that's all completely backwards, and that people need to be keeping a close eye on this. But on the note of actually, printing money, is this all a part of the control and the digital euro plan? Is this essentially dipping their toe in there? Hey, you know what? We're going to utilize your unused savings. And as long as there's not a bank run where everybody is going in and taking this out, well, this is how they're going to roll out their digital euro. And the reality is this digital euro is coming sooner than them using their savings. The digital euro is expected to be rolling out in 3 months' time, in October 2025. They want to bring it into the digital age. Oh, yeah, but the critics worry about privacy and personal freedom. Well, no duh, right? Nobody wants a CBDC and for the central banks to know about whatever they're spending on. Because what have people seen in the past, right? What have people seen? Well, they see that, hey, you know what? When these things happen, we see bank accounts get frozen. right? The Canadian truckers protest, obviously, 2 years later, they had a review of this not too long ago because it's a 2-year anniversary where two organizers, they were found guilty from all of this. But the big reality is a lot of these people had their bank accounts frozen. Their access to their money was gone at the snap of a finger. Now, I don't want to sound too dystopian or anything, but there are sounding the alarm bells right now as we speak about the monetary policy, which is run by the same very humans that want to allocate your money. I think that's the funny thing, is that everybody's saying, oh, you know what? Let us use your money. We're going to help fix this thing. We need to utilize your savings. Well, they got us in this mess in the first place. And now they're saying, hey, we need to utilize your savings in order to get back to that 2% target. We need to ensure that it doesn't drift away for too long, right? We have the inflation and the deflation monster. I mean, look at this. The 2% inflation target originated from a 1988 TV interview where New Zealand's finance minister casually suggested a 0 to 1% range, and the Reserve Bank of New Zealand formalized it to 0 to 2%, accounting for measurement biases, and it became a global standard. This happened in 1988. While effective for stability and preventing deflation, critics argue its arbitrary origin and rigidity may not suit all economic conditions. Central banks like the ECB and Fed still use it, with the U.S. inflation at 2.4% in May, but debates persist about its stability, right? And this has all been a part of the plan. They've been looking at this for quite some time. I mean, Ursula von der Leyen, she's the president of the EU Commission. She put this out months ago. Europe has its needs to take the lead in its competitive race, and that's what they're using. Europe is falling behind. That's what they're saying. They need to unveil the Savings and Investment Union. It'll turn private savings into much needed investment. You know why they're saying that? Well, they're saying the Europe savings rate is way higher than the US. In fact, it's generally double that rate. So the savings rate in Q4 of last year was 15%. The US is usually 7 to 8%. So the savings rate in the EU is literally twice the amount of the savings rate in the US, but the US has a big consumer economy. The US is a capitalistic economy. It's not a very socialist environment. We don't have extremely high taxes like they do in the EU. We don't have a lot of these barriers that they put in front of places like they do in the European Union. But we're starting to see this really take off. And I think we're starting to tell just how quickly this can, escalate and be an extremely negative place. So I think that we need to keep looking and keeping a very, very close eye on the development of the EU and them using their savings, because it's not just the EU, right? I mean, we already said it in Canada. I already showed you guys the truckers protest. Now they're looking at this and they're showing it and saying, hey, you know what? We need to join forces with Canada. They have similar ideologies as us, right? They have similar ideologies, and they're saying this literally, just 2 years after freezing assets amid a 2-year anniversary, right? 2 years ago, they were freezing all of this, and everybody is saying, hey, you know what? Now it's our time to partner up with Canada. But the reality of all of what we're seeing is that when people start to get closer to CBDCs, they take more control. UK left the European Union to stay more liberal, right? They thought the European Union was not doing enough. And so what do we see from the UK? Well, we see the largest single-year exodus of wealth ever in a single year. Who was number 2? China. China was number 2 in net outflows of wealth, with high net worth individuals seeking elsewhere. Right? So, UK had double leave, but China second most. Now, CBDC tracker here. What are we looking at? Well, China is using their own CBDC. The EU is starting to roll out the Digital Europe pilot in various countries across the globe. But China is doing that, and they're basically saying, hey, you know what? The wealth is moving elsewhere. The UK is seeing, a lot of issues on its own. And so a lot of people are saying, hey, we need to move elsewhere. We're sick of what we're seeing here with tens of trillions of dollars worth of euros potentially going to defense spending. We didn't sign up for this. And I think what everybody's starting to realize is that the money in your bank account is not your money, right? And that's why I think we need to continue to push Bitcoin and Bitcoin self-custody, because these banks, when they get control of it, right? When they get control of your Bitcoin, look, this is not Brandon or Green Candle being some dystopian. Literally, the European Central Bank is saying this. They're saying this to you. We need to develop our markets of finance. They are literally highlighting this for you and saying it in this big box at the beginning. Hey, look at what we're going to do. We are going to utilize your savings for investments that we see fit. It's absolutely crazy. So I'm going to keep pushing self-custody on you guys. And so because of that, I'm going to give away some free sats. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button with that like button, with the bell notification, so you guys know when I'm going live, because I know this is an early morning rip for a lot of you guys. But be sure to come and join McLovin, who's here in the chat. I know we've got about 100 of you guys watching across Twitter and YouTube. So let us give you guys some free chats courtesy of my friends over at the Bitcoin Well. Remember, you could go to bitcoinwell.com/greencandle and you can win some free sats today. 455 sats straight to your dome piece. If it's not you, it's McLovin getting those. But hey, if you missed your chance, you can go to bitcoinwell.com/greencandle. Sign up here today. You'll win 500 Wishing Well tokens. And then as soon as you buy Bitcoin, you'll get 500 more. And if you got 50K smackers, you got to go to the Bitcoin Well for their competitive rates. They'll help you get it straight to cold storage. Now, if that sounds like a daunting task, the death of fiat is here, folks. The death of fiat is here with the funeral director, B Keys, over here. You can book a free consultation the Bitcoin way. The fellows over there are absolutely the best. They'll help you get your Bitcoin off exchange, run a node, all the privacy stuff. They've got 25 years of cybersecurity experience, as well as helping you get a Plan B passport, because they've got a lot of things, a lot of experience. They're literally working around the clock. If you go here to book a consultation, literally any single day, you'll see from like 12 a.m. to like 12 p.m. Like, these guys are savages. You can go book a time literally any time of the day. And I encourage you guys all to do that no matter where you are in the world, because no matter what, yo, Vlad, taking the free sats. Attaboy Vladdy, getting those free sats. Keep getting them, because we are seeing the ECB take all of the Bitcoin, or take all of your savings, right? Because there's a lot of, although we are seeing a lot of bullish news in there, we're seeing publicly traded companies pop out left and right. I mean, look at these. We got 60 listed right here, all over the world, different countries. We've got now 141. I mean, look at all these publicly traded entities looking at this. It's interesting. We've got 9 from China, or 8 from China. And I think that's going to start developing as, these countries are realizing that it's the most pristine collateral that there is. Now, these Bitcoin companies, they keep buying and they keep going up and to the right, right? We're not seeing any sales from these guys. They keep going up and to the right and keep on keeping on. So if they're doing that and keep buying Bitcoin, and we keep seeing the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges getting scooped up at an all-time rate, why would you trust a bank or somebody that could potentially freeze your account with your Bitcoin? I mean, look at how much Bitcoin has been taken off an exchange here in the month of June. In the month of June, it looks like over 600,000 or over 660,000 Bitcoin has been taken off an exchange. 70,000 has been taken off an exchange within a month. If this keeps up, we will have literally no Bitcoin on exchange here in a matter of, what is it? So that's some quick math. Let's do this for you. So if we've got 2 million Bitcoin on exchange, let's see. Now I can't find my calculator here. 2 million Bitcoin left on exchange divided by 70,000 getting taken off on a month. It'll be less than a couple years, or no, a little bit more. It'll be 2.5 years. We'll have no more Bitcoin on exchanges. And that's if that doesn't accelerate, right? This very well could accelerate with the amount of buying that we're seeing. And we've got new companies popping up left and right out of nowhere, just looking to buy more and more Bitcoin. So with this, we've got Christine Lagarde and all of these guys talking about, hey, you know what? Let's fund wars for more Bitcoin or for more with more of your savings. Right? We've got this Ursula character who's out here saying all of these things, and we've got the ECB now increasingly, you know what? Hey, we're going to utilize your savings to help with this climate change. That's what they're going to be utilizing all of this for. The industry and investors look to set a predictable direction of travel, right? But, you know, I mean, my friend Luke Mikic, who many of you guys know, who's been around this channel with me as well, you know, you guys are seeing a lot of this kind of pop up, right? We've seen the German bank now bend the knee. All of these people are starting to continue to bend the knee to Bitcoin. And they are, you know, essentially all going to do these Bitcoin backflips. I know some of you guys have chirped me in the comments saying you hate that comment. But the EU has literally come out and said, and Christine Lagarde has come out and said that the IMF should be aware. Lagarde was head of the IMF in 2013. She essentially said that seizing people's savings was a bank method that they could use. Right? So she's come out and said this stuff before. And they're going to act like, or you guys are going to act like in the chat here are the bears, or the guys that think I'm just absolutely crazy, think that, you know, this isn't going to happen. I mean, we need to protect and look at climate change. The UN predicted the disasters of climate change. Entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if the global warming trend is not reversed by year 2000. I mean, what are we looking at here? This was like 25 years ago. And how many countries have we seen wiped off the face of the planet? None. So they're feeding us all this propaganda to get further away from Bitcoin and trust them more, because it's all a part of the plan here, folks. They're all trying to get us towards digital currencies, this digital euro. They're working with the national central banks in all the European areas. McLovin is saying he's feeling better about his Bitcoin and cold storage as time go on, as you should. Lagarde is evil. Amen to that. Nothing that comes out of these people's mouth is pure propaganda and lies. Can't believe anything that they said. Yes, exactly. I think you mean to say that it's all propaganda, because I think it's all that they're trying to do is feed you these lies in order to understand it, or in order for you to believe them. And so they would complicit of bank notes and coins. I mean, where does the term bank notes even come from, to be honest? Like, bank notes is a piece of paper money. It's a promissory note to pay a stated sum. It's not even real. And I mean, this is what they're putting the digital euro it's going to be backed by. These bank notes. Right? So, look, I'm not trying to sound the alarm bells for you guys to say, "Hey, you know what? This is something that's going to ruin everything." This is why I encourage people to get to Bitcoin and cold storage, because we see the rising adoption of this. But the adoption that we see is more on the asset side of things and less on, hey, the freedom technology. Bitcoin is that where you can truly be your own bank and truly, you know, value that privacy. And excuse me, it is something that can't be stopped. So I think that we need to keep doing that, right? We need to keep looking at what the digital euro, what that rolling out really means. They're literally telling you it's focused on the CBDC. I mean, look at the CBDC tracker. We're seeing it getting rolled out all over, and including the United States. Luckily, the digital dollar has been canceled, but there is something called Project Hamilton. I don't even know what that is. But the Fed is looking for the FooWire trial, some software stuff. Either way, right? There's going to be no CBDC, hopefully, there. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't come close to home, no matter where you are. Right? Don't forget, this was just 2 years ago. We saw this. TikTok next block. I believe you, plastic. It's ironic we're talking about global warming. We got plastic in the chat here. Vlad is saying, I'm sure that it was a guard said that Bitcoin is an escape hatch that people might use so they themselves know that it's a life wrap for us to them. Agreed. She openly admits all this stuff, right? And that's why she's been so anti-Bitcoin, right? So if we look at Lagarde's comments on Bitcoin, it's always been negative. She's rejected the idea of Bitcoin in European reserves. Now, why would she do that? Why would she do that when Czechia, the Czech Republic Bank came out and said that? We've got one of the biggest conferences, in Europe, in the world, in Prague. The European Central Bank has come out and said that they want to explore utilizing Bitcoin in their reserves. And Lagarde came out and openly said in a press conference that this is a terrible idea and that this will never happen. Now, why would she do that? You got to ask yourself, right? It's because it's associated with anti-money laundering. It's too volatile. But we all know that the volatility on Bitcoin is going down and that Lagarde is extremely negative. And that even though her Bitcoin reserve stats, the controversy, the unraveling the reasons, right? She has faced backlash for her opposition to Bitcoin reserves among member countries. Bitwise's Andre Dragish countered Lagarde's arguments, asserting that Bitcoin meets the ECB's reserve criteria. But Christine Lagarde will not do that, right? And especially when the United States is continuing to move forward with everything related to Bitcoin, it makes you think, right? So that's why I think this is all connected here when we saw the ECB join forces with the ECB look at Canada and say, you know what? Hey, this could be a good partner for us. Excuse me. The ECB in Canada going through all of this, and they're, looking at it as a sign of security and defense partnership, right? So it's a sign of security, but they're going to use $800 billion worth of defense. Now, why wouldn't Canada just go to the United States? You got to ask yourself that, right? I mean, the most powerful country in the world, literally right downstairs from you guys, right next door. Trump was joking around saying the 51st state, and honestly, a lot of Canadians that I spoke with were kind of keen on that idea. But EU partnership with Mark Carney of Canada deepened their their partnership. Now, everybody in Canada is also saying that Mark Carney's economic policies are what got Canada into there, right? Here are the key economic priorities for his new government. The Liberal Party, the victory came at a time of all this, right? Well, who is Mark Carney? Do you guys know in the chat? Mark Carney, even though he was the Liberal there, the Liberal Party leader, he was the central bank leader of England. And I just showed you guys what happened with the Central Bank of England. The UK faces the largest exodus they've seen in a single year. Why does that happen? Well, because of policies put in place by a central banker years ago, right? He left there. He served from 2013 to 2020. He led the central bank's response to Brexit and the early phase of the COVID pandemic. He became so he absolutely wrecked the economy of England. He left, then went to Canada and saw, oh, you know what, Trudeau, I can help you guys out with there, right? So he literally went from one house burning in fire that he made and went to Canada to go help him out. And now the ECB and Carney are shaking hands here. They're literally, giving one of these. It's absolutely crazy with all of these guys, but you see that it's all connected, right? So they're all cooking this stuff up, this ever-working pot, to continue to do that. And this is why what Plastic is saying here is so important. You need to run a Bitcoin node, core node, because keeping that network decentralized and away from these criminals who are going to steal your wealth, literally saying that they want to use your savings to do millions of defense, trillions of defense spending. They're using the excuse that, hey, this retail participate, it will benefit you. Don't worry. Don't worry, guys. All of this is going to benefit you in the long run. I mean, it's absolutely crazy what they're talking about here. Why would this benefit anybody? Explain to me that. When you're using my money to fund a war or using my money to do whatever spending you think you see fit. Global warming. Everything was going to be underwater. There was going to be countries that are left gone at this point, right? Was that actually going to happen? Doesn't seem to be the case. So you got to ask yourself about this, right? Why are we seeing this? And why are these headlines there trying to scare us? It's because they want control. They want to roll out that digital euro. All right, guys. Well, smoke that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Or the other way around. Smoke the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Get the bell notifications on. And make sure you guys get your Bitcoin in cold storage because like Vlad is saying, yeah, benefit you. Just like the Cyprus. Oh, the Cyprus riots benefited back in 2008. They just took out 10%. And everybody is looking at Greece, man. Greece is in a tough spot. Unfortunately, I'm not going to Greece and doing the hot girl summer out there. But what I am, I'm out here in Europe right now. And I'm honestly a little worried of these things that I'm seeing. Like, luckily, I don't live here and I'm just, a measly American. But, the liberal part of all of this is very scary. And so we need to see this trend keep on going. Over the past 8 months, 650,000 Bitcoin is left. And I showed you guys 70,000 left this past month as well. So these keep accelerating, and you guys need to keep accelerating that. Keep getting those Bitcoins off exchanges, because the digital euro is coming. They're going to be rolling out these pilots. They're going to roll them out, and they're going to incentivize people to do this. We saw how complicit people got 4 years ago. The same thing 5 years ago now at this point. The same thing's going to happen with these digital euros. They want that full control. And this is what Bitcoin is all about, is ending the run of the fiat currency and truly taking control and ownership of your money in your bank. All right, guys, appreciate you guys all coming, all 100 plus of you guys in this early morning rip. For a lot of you guys in America, make sure you smoke the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys all at the next one.